So now let's go to Chrome and install the dependencies required for the React navigation. So over here, let's go to React navigation. Let's click on the first link and read docs. So now we're going to install it using yarn. So let's copy this piece of code and then open up a new terminal over here and then paste that over. Now since we're using Expo manage project, so we have to install this code. Okay. Also, if you're using a bare React Native project, you can use this one. Okay. So since we're using Expo, we are going to follow the first one. So paste that over here. And now let's move on to Hello React navigation. And then over here, we are going to use again yarn. So let's copy that piece of code. That is for the native stack. So paste it over here. So the next step as usual is to create the basic stack navigator. Okay, so let's come to our file tree and then let's press on app.js and then new file. Let's say stack navigator.js. Okay, and then let's do rnfes to get the shorthand snippet. So save the file, and instead of returning a view, you're going to return a navigation container as they have given. Okay, so let's copy that out and then paste it over here, and let us import navigation container from the correct dependency, that is React navigation / native. Now let's initialize our create native stack navigator over here with the help of this code. So let's do that, and then let's import it as well. Okay, so after importing, so over here inside the navigation container, we have something called as the stack.navigator. So this is basically the stack of screens that we need to include it inside our application. So by default, they've given the first screen, that is the home screen, and we also have our home screen inside our screens folder over here. Okay, so let's just simply import the home screen from the screens folder like this. So save the file. So now we have just initialized our stack navigator. So let's include a stack navigator inside our app.js. So instead of returning the view, we are going to make use of a fragment, and we are going to say a stack navigator. Let's import it from the stack navigator file and save the file. Okay, so okay, we are getting some error. Let's check that out. Requiring unknown module 673. Okay, so let's cut the server once and let us run it from the start. So expo start. Let's clear the app once, and then let us go to our export developer tools and press on the second option, that is run on iOS simulator. So hopefully let's wait, and we should see the correct result, that is the first screen to be seen on the emulator, that is the home screen. So it's taking some time. Yeah, so there you go, we are able to see the home screen coming on the simulator. So as you can see, we do not want the home title to be seen. So let's come back to our home screen, the stack navigator, and let's provide some options as we always do. So we're going to say options, and we are going to say header shown, and we're going to set it to be false. Okay, yeah, so now it's working correctly. So now let's initialize our navigation inside our menu item, and whenever we press on any one of the hotel, we should be navigated to that particular hotel into the next screen. Okay, so over here, let's say const navigation equals to use navigation, and let us just remove the console log message, that's not required. So firstly, let's create a screen. Okay, so that is for the menu screen. So let's come to screens folder, new screen. We're going to say menu screen.js and then rnfes to get the shorthand snippet. Okay, save the file once, then come back to our menu item. So whenever we press on any one of the hotel, that is this entire container, we should be navigated to the next screen. Okay, so we have initialized a pressable over here. So to the pressable, let's provide on press event. Okay, first let's just check if it's exactly working. So we're going to say console.warn. Let's say we're going to say just pressed. Okay, save the file. So let's press on this. Yeah, we are getting correctly, that is, it's pressed. So now let us navigate to the next screen, right? So instead of just console.logging the message, we're going to say navigation.navigate to the next screen. So this navigate function is going to take the name of the screen we want to navigate to. So inside a stack navigator, we only have our home screen. So let us initialize a second screen also. So let us write stack.screen. So the name is going to be menu, and the component is going to be menu item. Okay, so I mean it should be menu screen, I guess, right? So let's import menu screen from the screens folder like this, and over here also we are not going to show the header. Okay, so save the file. So we have included our menu screen inside our stack navigator. So now let's come back to our menu item component, and after that we are going to say navigate to the menu. So basically we are actually passing the name of the screen we want to navigate to. So if you come to the stack navigator, the name is going to be menu. So for that reason we are sending menu over here. So save the file. So now let's press on the first item. Okay, yeah, so we are coming to the menu screen correctly. So let's make use of a safe area view. Yeah, so now it's working correctly. So now let's see how we can let's prove that we are coming to the correct exact screen of that particular hotel, right? So let's pass in some information. So basically over here we're gonna pass in the ID. So ID is gonna be the item.id. Okay, so save the file. So we're gonna access the ID inside our next screen, that is a menu screen. So let us that will be done with the help of the use route hook that we have been doing from the previous projects. So we're going to say const route equals to use route and import it from React navigation. So we're going to say the information that is coming from the previous screen. So for that reason we're going to say route.params. Okay, so currently we are just sending one information, that is the ID. Okay, just to prove that we are coming into the correct screen of that particular hotel. Okay, so currently we are passing ID here, as you can see. So save the file and let us console.log root.params. So let's check that out. Yeah, so there you go, we are coming into the correct screen, that is 0. It's working absolutely fine. So let's say we come back to the previous main home screen and let's press on the second item. It should give you an ID of 1. Right, so it's working absolutely fine. So now let's start designing our menu screen. Okay, so as you can see over here in the design part, we have something like this. Okay, we have a unique design that is with a blue background, and inside that we have a white color background which is containing all the different kinds of information. So let's start designing that. So over here, instead of the text, let's make use of a view. Okay, so for this view we're going to provide the basic style first so that we can start seeing the color. So the height is going to be of 300. Let's give it a background color of light blue. So it's going to be B0C4DE, and we're going to give a border bottom left radius of 40 and a border bottom right radius of 40. Okay, so after that let's just save the file. Yeah, so you can see the view coming exactly as we wanted. So inside this we the first thing we want is the back button, and we have the search towards the right. So over here let's initialize a view and let us get the back button first. Let's use expo icons for that. So expo.icons.fyi. Let's go into the first link. Let's search for back. Yeah, so let's use it from ion icons. Let's firstly import the family over here, and later let's render component. Let's copy the render component code and paste it over here. Next thing also we want is another view. So this is going to contain the search icon. So let's grab that real soon. So let's get from and design. Let's import the icon family first and then copy the render component code. and paste it over here. Okay, so this is going to contain a text which is going to say search. So let's save the file. Okay, so the first view over here, this is going to contain two children, that is the icon, and another view which is going to contain again two children, that is two icons. So let's give the styling for the second part of the view. We're going to say flex direction of row, and then align items of center, and save the file. So let's give the styling for the outermost view. It's going to be the same thing, that is flex direction of row, align items of center, and then justify content of space between. Okay, so save the file, and let's give some spacing, let's say to this view. Let's give a margin of 10. Okay, I think now it's looking better. And now let's initialize the navigation. That is, if we press on the back button, it should navigate us back to the previous screen. So let's say const navigation equals to use navigation. So let's initialize the on press event on the button, on the icon. So we're going to say, taking the function, we're going to say navigation dot go back. Okay, so that's it about the arrow function. I mean the arrow functionality. That is, if you press on that, we should be taken to the next screen, I mean the previous screen. So it's working absolutely fine. So let's decrease the size of the icon to 22, and for the text, let's keep it bold. So font size of 16 and font weight of 600, and some spacing towards the left. Or let's keep it to be 7. Okay, so that's it about the top part. So now we need to initialize another view which is going to contain the white background color, right? So for that reason, let's come over here. We're going to say view, and firstly we're going to give the styling for the view. So we're going to say background color of white, and then we're going to give a specific height, let's say 210, and we're going to give a margin horizontal of 20 and a margin vertical of 5, some internal spacing, that is padding, and finally the border radius. Okay, so border radius, it's going to be 15. Okay, so save the file. Yeah, so you can see the white color view coming up correctly. So now let's start designing basically the information. Okay, so all the information is stored in the root.params. Okay, so firstly let us pass the information. Inside the menu item, we are just passing the ID. We need access to the name, the ratings, the time, and the delivery fee, all those information, even the address also. So let's pass in the information correctly. So after the ID, we need the name. It's going to be item.name. We will also need the image. Okay, so item.image. Then let's write in the rating. It's going to be item.rating. After that, we have something called as the time. So it's going to be item.time. Then we have the address to be displayed. So it's going to be item.address. Then we have cost for 2. It's going to be item.cost for 2. Again, then we have the cosines. Let's check out the correct spelling. Okay, so let's come to the data folder, cosines. Let's copy that out. So it's going to be item.cosines, and after that we have the menu. Okay, so let's write that out. It's going to be item.menu. Okay, so save the file. Let's come back so that it's working properly. Yeah, so now as you can see, inside the root.params we have all the information including the menu. Okay, so with the help of this information, we're going to design firstly the white color view background. So let's come back to our menu screen and let us initialize a view right over here. So over here we need the name, and after the name we have towards the right two icons. Okay, so let's make in the text, and to access the name, it's going to be root.params.name. Okay, so after the name, after the text, we have another view. So this view is going to contain two icons. One is the share icon and one is the heart icon. So let's say share. I think already and design is imported, so let's pretty much paste it over here. Now let's get the heart icon. Okay, so again from and design, let's paste it over here. So save the file. Yeah, so you can see the information coming out. So now let us come to the view over here. We're going to say flex direction of row, then align items of center, then justify content of space between. Okay, so now, so for the text, let's give in the style. Let's say font size of 17 and then font weight of bold. Okay, so now what we do is, I think there is some space at the bottom for the, okay, so let's firstly give the styling to the view. So let's give flex direction row, and then align items of center. Yeah, I think now it's looking perfect. So let us give some spacing to the icons that is present. Okay, so we're gonna say margin horizontal of 5, of 7. Yeah, I think 7 looks pretty good. Let's keep it to 18 or 19, the font size. Yeah, I think that's looking better. So the next thing we have is basic text. Okay, so for that reason, let's initialize a text, or let's initialize a view itself. I think that part is already done. We can just copy the code for that. I think that is there in the previous component, that is in the quick food component. Let's pretty much copy that piece of code. Okay, I think that's this one. Okay, let's copy that out, come to the menu screen, paste it over here. I think we need access to the material icons, that is a star icon. So let's copy it from the quick food component itself over here, this one, and paste it over here. Okay, so instead of item rotating, it's going to be root.params rotating, and instead of time, instead of item.time, it's going to be root.params.time. Okay, so save the file. Yeah, so you can see that design coming out. Okay, so I think the font size should be increased a bit. So let's keep it to be 17 for both. Okay, I think that's looking better. So let's give some margin top of 7. Yeah, so the next thing we have is a basic text that is containing the signs. Okay, so let's write in the text. So it's gonna be root.params.signs. Save the file. So let's give in the style for the text. So it's gonna be a margin top of 10 or 8, and it's gonna be a color of gray, and the font size is gonna be 17. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty better. So the next thing we have is this part of design. So for that reason, let's initialize a view. Okay, so now we have two texts coming up. So this is gonna be pretty much the outlet. So let's write in a hard-coded value. So the next thing is it's going to contain the address. So for that reason, it's going to be root.params.address. Save the file. Yeah, so you can see that coming properly. So let's paste this a couple of times. Just one time. So this is going to contain home. Okay, first it's going to be the minutes, 22 minutes, and next this is going to be home. Okay, so save the file. Yeah, so now what we do is, for this view, Let's give a flex direction of row, then align items of center. Okay, so now let's give some spacing to the view. Let's say margin top of 10. Okay, so let's give the same piece of styling to the second view that is containing the information. Let's space that out. And for the second text, we're just going to give a margin left. Okay, so the same thing is going to go for the second text over here. Save the file. Okay, so now let us give the font size styling to the text. So font size is going to be 15, and then font weight is going to be bold. Save the file. So the same thing is going to be for no, okay, let's keep it bold for now. So let's copy the same thing and paste it for the second text over here, and let's keep it to be 14. Okay, so yeah, the next thing we have is the line that is going to come, a basic or divider line. So let's write in the text and let's give a style to that. So let's give a border color of gray and border width of, let's say, 0.6 and a height of 1. Save the file. Yeah, so you can see the line coming out. So let's give some margin top to it of, let's say, 12. Okay, so the next thing we have is the last part of the design, so which is going to contain a view. So let's write in that view out, and let's so the first thing, as we know, is the icon. So let's grab that icon out. So let's come over here, let's search in for cycle. Okay, so let's take this one from font awesome. Import the icon family first, and copy the render component code, and we're going to paste it over here. Okay, so after that we are going to have is the kilometers. Okay, so that's going to be a hard-coded value. So let's say text, it's going to be 0 to 3 kilometers, and after that we have is a basic random information. So let's write in the text and say 35 delivery fee will apply. Okay, so 35 fee will apply, and save the file. Okay, so for the view, let's give a flex direction of row, and then align items of center. Okay, and let's give some margin top. It's almost touching the line, so margin top of 10. Yeah, I think it's looking pretty better. So save the file, and let us change the icon color. Let it be orange. And okay, so for this text, let's give a margin left of 4 or 7, and the color is going to be gray, and the font size is going to be 16. Okay, so let's copy the same piece of styling for the second text as well. I think that's it about the final part of the top design. Okay, so now I think we forgot to put the divider over here. So let's just put the or symbol like this. Okay, or yeah, so now I think this one should be aligned, but never mind, I think it's looking better. Okay, so I think that's it about the top part. So now let's start designing the menu part. So the first thing inside the menu is the menu text. Okay, if you check out the design over here, we have this menu text coming. So let's go design that. So let's come over here, and then let's write a text value, and we're going to say menu. Okay, so for the text, let's give some basic styling. Okay, it's going to be a text align of center, and then a font size of 70 and a font weight of 500. Okay, so let's save the file and let's give some margin top. Okay, so after that is we have a basic divider, so let's just write that out. So let's say text. I think we have already designed this in the previous part, so I think this one, let's pretty much copy that and paste it over here. Yeah, so let us give a format once. Okay, so now let's start designing the menu part basically. So if you look at the data properly over here, hotels.js, so we have something called as the menu. So menu is pretty much an array of objects. So the first object is going to contain the recommended type, as you can see, and the second object is going to contain the rise type. Okay, so as I told you, we are just passing the menu to the first hotel just for testing purposes. So in case if you want to do the same thing for the second and third one, you can just copy the menu array over there. So now let's check out the menu screen again. So we are passing the menu as data from the previous screen, that is from the home screen. Okay, if you go to the menu item over here, yeah, so as you can see, we are passing the menu to the next screen, that is the menu screen over here. So with the help of root.params, we are going to map through the menu and then we are going to display the data over here. Okay, so let's go do that. So yeah, also before that, let's make this a scroll view. So let's import scroll view from React Native. Let's copy that out and let's provide some margin top as well to the scroll view. So over here we're going to say style and we're going to give a margin top of 50. Okay, so now we'll be making use of root params. Okay, that is over here. We're going to say root dot params dot menu. We're going to access the menu. So since menu is the array, we can apply map to it. So it's going to be menu dot map for each item and index. We're going to return a new component for this, right? So let's say food item. So food item, and to the food item we're going to pass some data, that is basically the item itself. So item is going to be item and the index is the key is going to be index. Okay, so let's firstly create the component food item. So over here let's say food item.js. okay, and R and FES to get the shorthand snippet. Save the file and let us import the food item component inside our menu screen. Okay, like this, and let's come back over here. Let's save the file. Okay, so as you can see, we are getting two types food items because we have two objects inside of the menu array, right? So now let's come back to our food item and then let's start designing this. Okay, let's access the props, that is the item, and let's initialize our data. So let's say const data equals to item. Okay, so now we are going to map through the data over here. Okay, we are going to say data, and let's apply equals over here. Yeah, we are going to say data dot map for the item and index. Over here we are going to return a fragment basically, and the first thing inside the fragment is going to be the pressable. Okay, so if you check out the design, so the pressable is going to contain the name that is recommended as well as this icon. It's going to contain these two parts. Okay, so firstly let us import pressable from React Native. Okay, so the first thing inside the pressable, as I told, is going to be the name. So let's say text. Okay, so it's going to be item.name. Okay, so if you check out the hotel's data, we are over here, that is we have this entire object with us, that is id, name and items. To access the name, is just going to be item.name. So we are going to get recommended as well as rise because we have two objects inside the menu array. So let's save the file. Yeah, so as you can see, we are getting recommended food item and rice food item. Okay, so let's pretty much remove this text food item. Okay, so now you should just basically get recommended and rice. Okay, So now what we do is let's provide also the key to it, that is basically over here. So key is gonna be I. Save the file. Now let's go get the icon, that is the down arrow icon. So over here let us search for export.icons.fii and let us search for the down arrow icon. Okay, yeah, this one. So let's copy it from and design, import the icon family first, and next we have is the render component code. Let's pretty much copy that and paste it over here. So save the file. Okay, it's looking pretty better. So let's give the style to it. Okay, let's give a basic margin of 10, that is external spacing, and then let's give a flex direction of row, and then align items of center. Okay, and justify content of space between. Right, so you can see recommended and rise coming up, and even the margin is being seen. So now let's increase the text font size. Okay, so style, so font size of 20, yeah, 20, and then font weight of bold. Come on, correct spelling, bold. Save the file. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty better. Okay, so the next thing we do is we are going to make use of state, and then we are going to access and then we're going to check if any one of them is pressed, that is if recommended is pressed or rise is pressed. Okay, if recommended is pressed, we're going to show that particular food items, and if rise is pressed, we're going to show that particular food items. Okay, so over here after this on line number 7, we're going to say const selected comma set selected equals to use state. Okay, we're going to pass an empty array initially. So save the file. Let's import use state. Okay, okay, we have done the wrong import. This has to come from React, right? So let's import that, and yeah, we are in the correct position. Okay, so now what we do is we are going to check if any one of the item is pressed, that is if recommended is pressed, we are going to show that particular food items, and if rice is pressed, we are going to show that particular food item. So for that reason we are initialize state over here. Okay, so we're going to write a condition over here just after the pressable, which says that is if selected dot includes of the item dot name. If this is the case, then we are going to map through the items. Okay, so if you look at the hotels, so let's say if recommended is selected, so if it is selected, we are going to map through the items, and then we are going to show all these items. Okay, that is basically 5 items. In case rice is selected, we are going to show that particular food items. Okay, so that's the condition. So if it is true, we are going to map through that particular item. So we're going to say item dot items dot map for food and index. Okay, let's say we're going to return a new component over here. So this is going to be the menu component. Okay, so over here we are going to pass in the food as props. So food is going to be food. Okay, so if that's not the case, then we are going to return null. Okay, okay, so it's basically going to be null. So again, let's look at the condition, that is if selected dot includes the item dot name, that is either if it is recommended or rise, then we're going to map through those particular items, as you can see over here, or through these items, since this is an array of objects again, and we're going to return a new component, that is basically a menu component. So this is all the data we can see over here. Okay, so let's firstly create a menu component over here. So let's say menu component.js, and then rnfes to get the shorthand snippet. Save the file, come back to the food item, and then let's import this component. Okay, let's also provide the key value over here. So key is going to be index. Okay, so save the file. Nothing should be nothing should happen because currently there is nothing selected, right? Okay, so for the pressable, let's provide a on press event. So let's say on press, we're going to take in a function and we're going to say handle item select, and we're going to pass in something that is going to be the item dot name. Okay, so each time you press on that, we're going to pass in either recommended or rice. Okay, so let's define the function over here at the top. So let's say const handle item select equals to, this is going to take in something that is the item that we passed earlier. Okay, so the first thing that we do over here is we're going to check if the item is firstly selected or not. Okay, so for that reason we're going to say const item selected equals to selected dot find. We're going to make use of the find method, and we're going to check if that particular value is equals to the item or not. Okay, so that is we're just taking C. Okay, C is what we pressed on, if it is equal to the item that we pressed or not. If that is the case, we're going to write in the condition. So we're going to say if the item is selected, we're going to access set selected, that is a modifier. So set selected, we're going to say selected dot filter. Okay, so this selected should not be equal to the item. We are basically removing it from the selected array. Okay, so it's not equal to the item. Else what is going to happen is we're going to say set selected, we're going to include whatever is there previously inside the selected, and then we're going to add pretty much the item that is recommended or rice. Okay, so this is basically the functionality. So save the file. So the way this works is, let's say you press on recommended. Okay, then it is going to show the recommended food items. So let's say again you press on recommended, it's going to check this condition, that is if it is selected or not. If it is already selected, we're just going to filter that out and it is not going to show that. Okay, and if it is not selected and if you're going to press it for the first time, then we're going to include that in the array, and this condition gets matched because this name is present, that is selected dot includes of item dot name. So if it is present, we're going to show the menu component. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it. So let's save the file. Also, we're going to provide an initial value over here, that is it's going to be recommended, because when someone comes to this menu screen, it should not be just these two values. It should be like recommended should be shown fully, and menu and the rice would be the same design. Okay, then based on whatever the user presses on, we are going to make the design styles. Okay, so let's pass in the correct value, that is recommended. So let's copy the correct spelling and paste over here. So save the file. Yeah, so as you can see, as soon as I pasted recommended over here, this is currently selected. So this condition is going to be matched, so that is selected dot includes of item dot name, that is recommended. It's present inside the selected array. So for that reason, inside the hotels, we're going to map through the items, each items from the recommended type, and then we're going to return where was I? Yeah, and then we're going to return the menu component. So since we have, let's say, 5 items inside the in the recommended type of food, so we're returning each type, each items 5 times. Okay, so I think that's it about this thing. So let's say I again press on recommended, that's going to go off. If I again press on rice, now rice is not selected. Okay, so it's going to go into the else condition, and then we're going to add rice into the selected array, and we're going to show in so rice has pretty much 4 items inside of it, so we're going to show 4 items inside of rice. So again, yeah, you can even press on both, because we are going to include whatever is there inside selected, and we are going to pass in that particular item. So that's the way this works. So now let's start designing the menu component. Okay, so as you can see, inside the food item, we are passing the food as props, that is data. So let us access that over here, restructure it. So the first thing we get over here is, let's check out the design. So we have the pressable, and we have towards the left we have 3 descriptions, and towards the right we have let's say the image as well as the button, the add button, right? So let's design that real quick. So we are going to say pressable. Let's remove this out. So for the pressable, the first thing we are going to have is the, let's say, the left part and the right part. So the left part is going to have a view. So this is going to contain the text. So this is basically going to be the item dot name. So it's going to be the food dot name. Save the file. Okay, can't find pressable. Let's import it from React Native first. Save the file, the first hotel. Yeah, so as you can see, we are able to see all the different kinds of food items being present. Okay, so after that we have is the again text. This is going to contain pretty much the price, so it's going to be food dot price, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that's working fine. So the next thing we have is the rating. So we have already we have already done the ratings part, so I'm just going to get the code right now. Okay, so this is basically the ratings part. Okay, so firstly let's import the font awesome icons. Yeah, so as you can see, we are able to pass in the rating and see the rating correctly. Okay, so we have already done this in the previous project, so I just went and just pasted the code out. So the next thing we have is the description part. Okay, so that's going to come after the text that is over here. Let's give a format once, and after this text we are going to say food dot description. Let's check out the correct spelling. Yeah, it's going to be food dot description. So save the file. Yeah, so I think let's make use of the substring method, and then let's just show some part of the text. So if the food dot description dot length is greater than, let's say, 30, if this is the case, we are going to say food dot description dot substring of 0,30, else we're just going to show the food dot description, right? So save the file. Yeah, so you can only see this much, and after this we're going to add some 3 dots like this. Okay, yeah, I think it's looking pretty better, but I don't think we have only that much, right? Let's keep it to be 35, and let's provide a width later. Okay, so style width is going to be 150 or 180. Okay, so now for the pressable over here, which is going to contain the first child, that is this view, that is this one, we're going to give the style. So let's say a margin of 10, and then a a flex direction of row, then align items of center, then justify content of space between. Okay, so save the file once. Yeah, so now let's start writing the second child, that is after this view. We have another pressable which is going to contain the add button and the image basically. So let's say pressable. So the first thing we want to write is the image. So it's going to take in the source. Okay, this is going to take in the URI. So it's going to be food.image. Let's check this out if it is correctly done. So food.image, yeah, it's correct. The spelling is correct. So let's give the style so that we can see the image is coming up. So the width is going to be, let's say, 120, and the height is also going to be 120. So height is 120 and a border radius of 8. Okay, so save the file. Okay, we can't see anything because image is not imported. Let's come into the first hotel, and then yeah, as you can see, we are able to see the images. So currently recommended is selected, so for that reason rice is not selected, so we can just check that out. Rice and both are selected. Okay, so for rice also we can able to see the different kinds of data present for that particular item. Okay, so now what we do is we're going to provide some styling to the text items over here. So style, okay, is it bold? Okay, it's almost bold. So we're going to say font size of 18 and then font weight of 600. Okay, and I think let's remove align items and then let's check how it's looking. Yeah, I think it's looking better because it is currently aligned with the image. Okay, so the next thing we do is we are going to provide some spacing to the description over here. So let's say margin top, since it's almost touching the rating part, so we're going to say margin top of 8. Okay, and let's provide a color of gray. So the color is gonna be gray, and then the font size is gonna be let's say 16. Okay, I think, yeah, I think that's it. It's looking pretty better. And for the second part, the view, it's almost touching the right part of the screen. So to the pressable, we're going to give a margin right. So style, and then margin right. So margin right of, let's say, 10. Okay, I don't know why margin start I wrote margin right of 10. Okay, yeah, I think that's looking better. So the next thing we have is the again the pressable to show the add button. So let me just get the code for that now. Okay, so I've just pasted the code for the add button. So this is pretty much the same thing we have been doing from the previous projects as well. So we pretty much have a pressable, and the style for that is a position of absolute, top 90, left 20, and a flex direction of row, and padding horizontal of 25 and vertical of 10, and align item center, background color of white, and a border radius of 5. And that is going to contain a text with the data of add, and then we have a font size of 18, and this color, and a font weight of 600. Okay, so pressable is imported. Let's save the file once. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, we are able to see the add button for each of the 4 items. Okay, so I think that's working absolutely fine. I think we need to show the length of this, I think, over here. That is, if you check it over here, we have something called as the length, the number of 4 items. So for that reason, let's come to the menu component, I think, or the food item that is present inside the food item. So where we have the name, we're going to show in the length, right? So item.name, in the sense we have the recommended. So if you check out the hotels data, so we need the length. So it's going to be item.items.length, if I'm not wrong. So let's check that out. So it's going to be item. Okay, items.length. Okay, and let's put in braces over here. So save the file. Yeah, so as you can see, that part is working fine. So recommended as 5 items, and rice is going to have 4 items. Okay, I think that's it about the menu design part. So the next part we'll be looking into is this part, that is to design this bottom menu, and if the user presses on that, we're going to show in the basic details that is recommended of 5 items and rice of 4 items. Okay, so let's get started with that part right now. So for the bottom menu design, firstly let's go back to our menu screen, and then let's start designing. So this is going to come after the scroll view. So for that reason, let's make use of the fragments. Okay, since we just return a single component. Okay, so let's paste it over here. Okay, so after the scroll view, we're gonna write our pressable. Okay, for the bottom menu design, that is this one, the circular one, which is going to contain basically the menu info in short. So the first thing this is going to contain is the icons. Okay, so let's go get the icon first. Okay, yeah, so this is going to be the icon, that is the menu book icon. So let us import the icon family. Okay, I think material icons is already imported, so let's just pretty much copy the render component code and then come over here near the pressable and paste it over here. So the next thing this is going to take is the menu text, okay, in capital letters, and save the file. Okay, so can't find pressable, so let's import pressable from React Native. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, we can see the icon as well as the text coming, which is almost towards the left part of the screen. So let's give it some basic styling so that it looks better. So for the pressable, let's give the style. So let's say width of 60, height of 60, and border radius of 30 to make it look exactly circular. So border radius is going to be 30, and then justify content of center. We are going to say background color of black. Okay, margin left photo, and we're going to say position of absolute. Okay, let's give a bottom of 35 and right of 25. Okay, so right of 25 and align content of center. Okay, so let's save the file. Yeah, so you can see the black color menu design coming up. So for the material icons, instead of black, let's give the color to be white. Okay, yeah, so you can see that part coming. So for that text, let's give the styling. So we're gonna say text align of center, a color of white, and we're gonna say font weight of 500. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, we are able to see the text coming, but the icon is not exactly centered. So for that reason, let's give this style and let's say text align of center. Okay, yeah, so there you go, even that part is working absolutely fine. So now if I press on this, we need to open up a modal and we need to show exactly the details. Okay, that is basically the menu details. That is a type of food that is recommended as 5 and rice as 4, right? So for that reason, firstly let us make use of state, and so that we can store the menu inside that. So let's say const menu comma set menu equals to use state, and we're going to pass in an empty array initially, and let's import use state from React. Okay, so the next thing we want is we're going to make use of a listener. So let's say use effect, not use focus effect, just use effect. Okay, so firstly let's import use effect correctly from React and not from this dependency. Okay, so over here let's remove this one, let's write use effect correctly. Okay, so over here so whenever we come to the menu screen, this use effect is going to get triggered off, and it's only going to run once because we have passed an empty dependency array. So inside the use effect, we're going to initialize a function, and we're going to call it every once the menu screen loads. Okay, so we're going to say const fetch menu equals to arrow function. Okay, here we're going to access the set menu, that is the setter. We're going to say root.params.menu. Okay, so now everything is stored inside of our menu. That is basically the details that we want, the recommended type and the number of items. Okay, so after this we're gonna call the function, right? So fetch menu and save the file. Okay, so the next thing we do is we're gonna install the dependency for React Native modal. So let's come over here and let's write yarn add React Native modal. Okay, so this should install the dependencies required for it. Okay, so now what we do is we come over here and we initialize our modal, and we're going to import it from React Native modal. Okay, so let's write it over here, import modal from React Native modal. Okay, so firstly let's initialize our state for the modal, that is if it is visible or not. So we're going to say const modal visible comma set modal visible equals to use state, and initially we're going to say it is false. Okay, so there is some options inside the modal, let's give that. So it's gonna there is something called as is visible, so this is going to be modal visible. So if it is false, it's not going to show the modal. If it is true, it's going to show the modal. Okay, the second thing we're going to write is on backdrop press, this one, and here we're going to call a function that is toggle modal. So let's define the function over here at the top right after the use effect. So we're going to say const toggle modal equals to an arrow function. So we're going to access the setter, that is set modal visible, the function, and we're going to say not of modal visible. So essentially over here on line number 32, we are setting to be the opposite of what is modal visible. So if it is false, currently it's going to be true, and if it's true, it's going to be false. Okay, so that's it. So the next thing we do is we initialize our view inside our modal. Let's give the basic styling, that is the width and height to it. So let's say style. So we are going to give a height of 190 and a width of 250. The background color is going to be black. Okay, so the next thing we have is a position of absolute and some bottom value, that is 35, and right of 10. Okay, and let's also give some border radius to it. Okay, so let's say border radius of 7. Okay, so save the file once. So let's initialize the on press event on our menu, that is over here. So let's come back to the pressable. So on press is going to be toggle modal. Okay, so when I press on this is triggered off, that is toggle modal function is triggered, and we are going to set it to be true, that is set modal is true. So this value becomes true, modal visible. So essentially it should give us an view like this. Okay, so let's save the file once and let's press on the menu. Okay, yeah, so there you go, we are able to see. So if I press on the outside, that is on backdrop press, again this is called, so currently it is true, that is modal visible value is true. So if I press on it, it's going to become false and the modal just goes off. Okay, so there you go, it's working absolutely fine. So for the view, this is going to have two texts. Okay, so text 1 and then text 2. Let's format once. Okay, so everything is seen once clearly. Yeah, so for the text one, this is going to contain, okay, or we're going to make use of map and then we're going to display it. Okay, so menu.map for every item and then index, we're going to return a view. Okay, so inside this view we're going to show the texts. Okay, so this menu is coming from the use effect, that is after setting the value. So let's provide the key for the view. So key is going to be I. Okay, so for the first text, it's going to contain the name, right? If you look at the data over here, so we have this entire menu, so we just want the name, right? So it's going to be item.name. So let's write that out. It's going to be item.name. And for the second one is we want the number of items for that particular type. Okay, so if you check out the hotel's data, so we want the number of items, right? So it's going to be items dot length. So for that reason, let's access the item and then the items dot length. Okay, so length spelling is wrong. Okay, so let's save the file once and let's check if everything is working correctly. Okay, we can't see anything because it is black in color. Let's give the style to it. Let's say color of white, or we have a separate color for that. It's going to be D0, 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 and a font weight of 600 and a font size of, let's say, 17. Let's copy the same piece of styling for the second text as well. Let's copy it correctly and paste it over here. Yeah, so as you can see, we are able to see the correct values, that is recommended 5 and rise 4. So for the view, let's give some styling. Let's give padding of 10. Okay, and we're gonna say flex direction of row and align items of center. And we're going to say justify content of space between. Okay, so save the file. Okay, so let's firstly increase the font size a bit to be 18 or 19. Okay, I think that's looking better. So the next thing we have is the image link. So let me just get that right now. Okay, so I've just pasted the code for the image. Okay, so we have a view, and inside that view we have an image. So this is the link for the for this, and the style is width of 120 and a height of 70, and the resize mode of contain. So if I press on the menu over here, you can see that image coming up. That is the logo. Okay, so I think that's it about the bottom menu design. So the next part we are going into is the Redux part. So let's get into that right now. So for the Redux part, firstly, let's install the Redux toolkit. Okay, so let's go over to Chrome and then search for Redux toolkit and let's install it. Okay, so let's go over here, get started. And then yeah, so let's use it, let's install it with the help of yarn. So copy that code and open up a new terminal and then paste it over here. Okay, so let's remove that hashtag and press on enter. So let's also install yarn add react redux. Okay, so we need these two dependencies to start working with. Okay, so now we're gonna create a new folder that is the Redux folder. So let's press on app.js, new folder, let's say Redux. Okay, and then we are gonna make a new file, okay, which is gonna be cart reducer.js. Okay, so over here we're gonna start writing all our code. Okay, so firstly we need is the create slice. So we're gonna say import create slice from the Redux toolkit. Okay, so then we are gonna write export const cart slice equals to create slice. This is gonna take in an object and we're gonna give the name first. Okay, so let it be cart for now, and then we're gonna pass in our initial state. So initial state, so since we are following a cart system over here, so it would be very meaningful to give an array. Okay, so we're gonna say cart and we're gonna pass in an empty array. Okay, so the next thing after the initial state is the reducer. So the reducers are going to come over here after the initial state. Okay, so the first thing inside the reducers is, let's say we define the add to cart functionality. So it's going to be add to cart. Okay, so this is going to take in the state and action. Okay, so let's see how we can exactly define add to cart. Okay, so let's say there is already one item added into the cart, and then we press on the add to cart button. So in that case we should just increase the quantity of that particular item. So in case there is no item added into the cart, that is the cart is completely empty as in over here, then we should add that particular item into the cart and we should keep the quantity as 1. Okay, so for that reason, according to that, we are going to write the condition. Okay, so for that reason, firstly we're going to check if the item is present inside the cart or not. Okay, so const item present equals to, we're going to access the state dot cart, and with the help of the find method we're going to access, we're going to check if that particular item is there inside our cart. So if item dot id equals to the action dot payload dot id. Okay, so if this is the case, that means that a particular item is present inside the cart. Okay, so we're going to say if this is true, that is if the item is present, and then we press on the add to cart button, we should just increase its quantity. Okay, so it's gonna be quantity item present dot quantity plus plus. Okay, else if that's not the case, then the cart is empty and then we are pressing on the add to cart the add button for the first time. Okay, so for that reason we are going to say state dot cart dot push. Okay, we are going to push basically the action dot payload, whatever we included, and over here we are going to include the quantity, that's going to be 1. Okay, so that's it about the add to cart functionality. You can check out the code. Okay, so the next thing we have is remove from cart. Okay, so this is going to take in again the state and action. Okay, so let's define const remove item. So over here we are basically trying to filter out that particular item from the cart. Okay, so for that reason we'll be making use of the filter method. So we're going to say state dot cart dot filter if the item dot id is not equal to the action dot payload dot id. Okay, so we're basically filtering out that particular item from the cart, whatever we press on. Okay, so then we are equating it. Okay, so basically state dot cart is going to be equal to remove item. So that's basically about the remove from cart reducer. So the next thing we have is increment quantity. So let's say increment quantity again is going to take in the state and action. So again over here inside increment quantity we are going to first check if the item is present. Okay, so let's pretty much copy that code over here, and after it is present. Okay, so we're just gonna say item dot present dot quantity plus plus. Okay, so that's it about the increment quantity. So next let's move on to the decrement quantity. Okay, we are gonna say decrement quantity equals to the state and action. Okay, so this is again gonna check if the item is present inside the cart or not. Okay, so this is for the plus button, that is the increment quantity, and decrement quantity is for the minus button, that will be including it. Okay, so over here we are gonna check if the item present, okay, dot quantity equals to 1. Okay, so in this case, that is for a particular item the quantity is 1, and then if we press on the minus button, then we should basically filter that out. Okay, so like let's say we have minus over here, and at the center we have 1, and towards the right we have plus, and then we press on the minus button over here, then this should do and this should show us add. Okay, so for that reason we are pretty much removing that item. So let's pretty much copy the code from remove from cart and then paste it over here. So that's it about the first condition, that is if the item dot quantity equals to 1. Okay, if that's not the case, we are just going to decrease the quantity by 1. So let's say the quantity is 2 or 3 or even 10, and then we press on the minus button, then what's going to happen is we're going to just decrease the quantity by 1. So we're going to say item present dot quantity minus minus. Okay, so I think that's it about the basic reducers we're going to use in this app, that is add to cart, remove from cart, increment quantity and decrement quantity. Okay, so over here at the bottom we'll be including our, we'll be basically exporting the details. Okay, so it's gonna be export const add to cart, remove from cart, and we also have increment quantity, then decrement quantity. Okay, it's gonna be cart slice dot actions. Okay, and next we have export default cart slice dot reducer. Okay, so we have just basically included our slice. Okay, so now we need to create a store for this, so let's go to that. So let's press on app.js, let's say store.js, and then enter. Okay, over here we are gonna write import configure store from Redux toolkit. Okay, and we're gonna say export default configure store. Firstly we're gonna write in the reducer, we're gonna pass in the name, that is cart, and we have the cart reducer over here. Okay, so the cart reducer, and we have to import it from that particular file. Okay, so that's it about the store. Since we have only one reducer, we are importing it over here like this, and so let's save the file. So now for Redux to work, we need to include it as provider inside our app.js. So let's go do that. So over here, let us import provider from React Redux like this, and the provider is going to take a prop, that is the store itself. Let's wrap our stack navigator into the provider. So let's give a format one. So for the provider, as I told, we need to pass the store. So let's import store from that particular file. So let's say import store from store. Okay, so save the file. Okay, nothing has happened. I think yeah, everything is working fine. So now let's check out if everything is working. Okay, so for that reason, let's come back to our menu screen. Okay, let's try to access our cart. It should give us an empty cart, of course, because there is no items present at the initial stage, right? So let's check that out. So over here, with the help of use selector hook, we'll be accessing the cart that is present inside. Okay, so we're gonna say const cart equals to use selector, import it from React Redux, access the state from it, and we're gonna say state dot cart, the reducer name, and then the cart that is present inside the initial state. So let's save the file once. Okay, nothing has gone wrong, that's good. So now let us console.log the cart. So let's say console.log of cart. Okay, it should give us an initially empty array, right? Yeah, I think I was able to see an empty array. So let us comment out the other console.logs, basically the root params. Let's remove that out. Yeah, so there you go, we are able to see the array coming up, that is single array. So it's working absolutely fine, the Redux part is working absolutely fine. So the next part is how to dispatch items into the store. Okay, so let's get into that now. So now let's initialize some state as well as use dispatch so that we can dispatch it into the store. Okay, so over here, okay, so inside the menu component, let us say const dispatch equals to use dispatch from React Redux. Let's import it, and next we have add items comma set add items. This is basically for the quantity that we have, so use state. Okay, initially it's gonna be 0. Okay, next thing we have is the state again, that is for selected, so const selected comma set selected equals to use state false. Okay, so this is for the quantity, and the second one is that if we are pressing on the button or not. Okay, so let's save the file once, and where we have the add button, let's initialize the on press event to that. So we're going to say on press. Okay, we're going to do a couple of things. Firstly, we're going to say set selected to be true. Okay, and after that what we're going to do is we're going to check if the add items equals to 0, and that is true. So in this case we're going to say set add items. Okay, we're going to access that value, and then we're going to increase it by 1, and after that we're going to dispatch. Okay, we're going to say dispatch. We're going to call in that reducer, that is add items, add to cart from our cart reducer file, and we're going to pass in the payload. It's going to be food. So this is coming from the props if you check out over here. Okay, on line number 6. So I think that's it about the add to cart functionality. Okay, so let's say if I press on add. Okay, so this is going to become true. So we're going to apply a condition right after the image, that is if it is selected, we're going to show something, that is the other design that we have checked in the demo video. If it is not selected, we're going to show the add button itself. Okay, so let's pretty much copy this and paste it over here. So let me get the code for if it is selected. Okay, I've just pasted the code for the if it is selected or not. Okay, I'll just show that real soon. Okay, so if it is selected, we are showing a pressable. So this pressable is going to contain 3 other children, that is one over here, second, and the third one. Okay, so that's it, and this is the outer one. So the first children is going to contain the minus button, so it's going to contain a text, and this is the basic styling that it has. And the second children is going to contain the add items that we have. Okay, that is basically the quantity, and again I think we have given the same styling for this text as well. And the third pressable is going to contain the plus button. Okay, and this is the same styling for the text, and for the overall pressable, this is the styling we have. Okay, so let's save the file once and check it out. So now if I press on the add to button, this function should get triggered, that is a on press. So we have set selected to be true. So over here, this we should see this design coming up. Okay, and after that we are going to increase the quantity to be 1, and we are dispatching it. Okay, so let us check that out. So over here, let's press on the first one. Yeah, so there you go, it's working absolutely fine. We have dispatched that particular item. So over here inside my console, you can see we have one item inside the array, and we have the quantity of 1 for that particular item. Okay, so I think that's it about the add button. So let's look into if we press on the plus button. Okay, so let's initialize the on press event over here. So we're going to say on press. It's going to take in a function. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to say set add items. Let's access that value and increase it by 1. Okay, after that we're going to dispatch. So we're going to say dispatch. Over here we're going to pass increment quantity. Okay, we're going to pass in the payload, that's going to be food again. Okay, so save the file. So let's say if I press on the plus button, so if you would remember inside the cart reducer where we have the increment quantity, it's going to check if it is present, it's just going to increase the quantity by 1. Okay, so let's come back to the menu component, and Let's check if it's exactly working or not. So save the file and let's press on this. So there you go, it's working absolutely fine. We can see 2 coming up, and inside the array we again have just one item, but the quantity is increased to 2. Over here we have 1. Now after pressing on the plus button, it has been increased to 2. Yeah, so now it's working absolutely fine. So the next thing we look into is the minus button. Okay, so over here, let's say on press. Okay, so we're gonna say take in the quantity and check. Okay, so first we are checking if the food dot quantity that we have, if food dot quantity equals to 1. In this case we're just gonna remove that item. Okay, so we're gonna say dispatch remove item, remove from cart, and we're gonna pass in the food. Okay, if that's not the case, that means the quantity is more than 1. So we're gonna say dispatch decrement quantity of food. Okay, so save the file. So let's check that out. So it's currently 3 now. Okay, we didn't decrease this part, right? We didn't work on this, that is set add item. So let's look into that. So if it is 1, just a minute. Yeah, so if it is 1, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say set add items to be 0. Okay, and we're gonna say set selected to be false, because we need to show the add button, right? So we're gonna say set selected to be false and save the file. Okay, so currently the quantity is going to be 3, and if I press on minus button, okay, I think something errored out. Let's just start it from the start. So let's press on the first add button, and let's say I press on the minus button. It should just go into this if condition. It should dispatch remove item. That means this should become empty. The array should become empty, and it should show us again the add button, right? Yes, it's working absolutely fine. So let's say I increase the quantity to be 2, and if I press on the minus button, it should go into the else condition, and it should give us the -1. Okay, that's not working correctly. So let's check what exactly is happening. Okay, over here inside inside the first pressable where we have the minus button. So instead of checking the food dot quantity equals to 1, we're going to check if the add items equals to 1. Okay, that was a slight glitch we had. So save the file. So now let's give it a try. So if I press on the add button, we can see the first quantity coming up, and it's 2 currently. So let's say I press on minus again. So now it's 1. So now if I again press minus, it should give me the add button. Okay, so I think that's working absolutely fine. So I think that's it about the Redux cart part. Okay, so in the next video, we'll just be showing a bottom design over here if there is any items present inside the cart. Okay, so I think that's it about this video. Let's see you in the next video, and then thank you for watching.